have a cop and a podcaster that I really want you to meet because he has an interesting story. He has a fantastic podcast that covers so much more than just law enforcement issues. And so I'm really excited for you to meet Ken Frownfelter. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Betsy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I want folks to get to know you because when I look at the list of people that you have interviewed on your podcast and some of the topics that you've covered and some of the responses that you've gotten, I'm fascinated. So I really thought folks needed to meet you and talk about why you kind of started on this journey, because first and foremost, you're a cop, right?
I'm a cop. I've been a cop for 15 years about. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Now you're a veteran police officer,
Mm-hmm.
and you work in the Pacific Northwest.
Correct.
And first of all, just talk for a minute about your police career. How'd you decide to become a cop, and what have you been doing for 15 years?
Well, I got to that point where I got out of the Marine Corps. I had my family, had kids and the whole thing. And I didn't become a cop till I was 31. And that's in a lot of places, that's later, a lot of people in their 20s. And so I got at 31 after my first divorce, and I'd had kids and I had all this different stuff. I finally had the ability to go because I met a girl who was super supportive of me applying and going through all this stuff. I went in, I became a cop at 31, and I said, this is what I've always wanted to do. I remember telling my stepmom years ago when I was a teenager, I want to either be in the movies, or I want to be a history teacher, or I want to be a cop. Those three things. I don't know how they all match up, but they do. And at least in my head. And then being the cop was the one thing that I figured that I could do. Turns out that I had some struggles, and I learned to overcome those and become the best cop that Ken can be. And am I the best cop ever? I'm not going to say that. No, I'm not. However, I'm the best that I can be, and I try to do as best as I can. So struggle through that, go through, reach out to people, say, hey, how do I be better? You were one of those people that I reached out to and said, hey, how do I be better? And, I just got a whole bunch of different things thrown my way and learned how to be better. And 15 years later, I'm still learning and growing and becoming the best that I can be.
I love that. So somewhere along the line, you decided to kind of share yourself with the world. But I want to emphasize that, you didn't do it in here's me and I'm so great kind of way. You decided to actually highlight other people, and you developed the What's a Hero podcast. Talk about the impetus for that.
Well, I was going through some times where I was really struggling. I was really in a dark place, and not like violently dark or anything like that. Just more, depression. My kids had moved out. I'm feeling kind of lonely and all this different stuff. I mean, my wife is always there and she's awesome. But it was that thing where I didn't have a lot to share. And so I'm trying to go through, and when you sit in your car, a lot of people just listen to music all the time. When they work out, they listen to music all the time. Well, I was doing that, but I started realizing I want to do more, and I want to be able to learn more, and I want to be able to gather in more. And so I started reading, and I'm the worst reader ever. I'm slow at it. I'm this and that. And so I started looking into actually audiobooks. And so I'm listening to audiobooks, but I'm at the same time, I started listening to more podcasts, and I'm listening to people do their podcasts. And I'm thinking there are good police and law enforcement and first responder podcasts out there, but there weren't any that were giving me this tangible attraction of what other police officers or first responders were giving and what they had to offer. And I wanted to hear their stories, because you can learn so much just from somebody else. And then in hearing somebody's story, you can be motivated or inspired by them. And so I said, how can we get that? And so I figured, why don't we start one? Why start? And so I was at Guitar Center one day, I play the drums, and my daughter was with me. She had come home for a visit, and I was like, hey, this is cool. They had like a podcast, package or whatever. She goes, you're into that sort of thing? I said, oh, that would be pretty cool, just out of out of a whim. Well, she decides to tell my wife. My wife decides to, get me all the stuff that I need. And I said, I guess I have the stuff. I got to learn how to do it. So I had to teach myself how to do a podcast, how to go through the editing and how to go through the posting and everything else. And how you talk to people. And my first episodes might be a little rough, but I had a buddy who had a podcast and he was one of my first interviewees, but he and I were also in the Marine Corps together. So we get in and I did it, I learned it, and I said, this is great. And so as I get more people on, I learn more, obviously, but I really get a great sense of who these people are and what they have to offer. And I've learned a ton from just interviewing people and talking to people and getting their stories too. And so it helps me as well.
So one of the things I want to talk about is because you were a United States Marine before you were a police officer, and now we're for about the last almost 2 years now, and honestly really before, the term warrior, which I know is a term utilized in the armed forces sometimes to refer to people in it. We talk about warriors and warriorship in law enforcement as well. And we've heard over the last few years, probably since Ferguson 2014, that the warrior mentality is a bad thing and it's dehumanizing for cops to have a warrior mentality, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you came from the Marines to law enforcement. What do you have to say about that warrior mentality in our profession?
I think a lot of people, what we do in life is we look at everything as once you get one label, you're done, right? And everything is specifically one thing. And I don't think that anything we are is one thing. I mean, look at yourself. You're a mother, you're a police officer, you're a wife, you're multiple things. Just like me, I'm multiple things. So if I say that I'm just a warrior, okay, that's great, but then I have to put 100% into my warriormanship, and that's not who I am 100% of the time, because I can't go home and deal with my wife and talk with her and have conversation with her with a warrior mentality. We're going, hey, we're gonna watch, whatever, we can't do that. We're having hamburgers for dinner, that's not my thing. But I have to be able to specifically have, when I need to be a warrior, I need to be a warrior. When I need to be a guardian, which is the other side of police work, is yes, I have to have a guardian mindset. I have to go protect children. I have to go protect the elderly. I have to go look for people who are struggling or having a bad day. I can't be a warrior specifically for that time. Now, if a guy's coming at me with a knife, I have to be a warrior at that time. But at the same time, I have to be an administrator sometimes because I got to go write reports all the time. So you have to develop all these different things. Now, if you put 100% of yourself into one thing, you're going to be good at that one thing. However, if you put 33% of yourself into warriormanship, 33% in guardianship, 33% into your administrative person, great, but you're still missing parts. So you must be able to we as police officers, we have to do a whole bunch of different things. A mindset of having a warrior mentality is great, but not all the time and not 100%, but except for when it needs to be, then it needs to be 100%.
Now, this profession, unfortunately, and you're still right in the middle of it, has become so politicized, not just regionally, but nationally. And tell me your thoughts on that. I mean, I find it very, very dangerous. And obviously it is, as we see yet another year of murders, 30% increase nationwide, felonious killings of police officers at a record high. How do you think we got so politicized, and why do you find that dangerous? And what do you think we can do about it?
I think that a lot of what we do it has a lot to do with this social media that we have, and we want to do it so we can stay connected, and everybody wants to be able to talk with each other, but we spend too much time comparing ourselves to the Joneses, and I say the Joneses by off the trope that says, keeping up with the Joneses, but we're so worried about comparing ourselves with each other. And then for some reason we need to, there's this need that we need to be able to compare ourselves always. And then if you don't match up with what I believe, then you're the enemy or you're against me. And I think that we've lost who we are, our sense of who we are, because we're so busy trying to please everybody and get everybody to like us. And instead of just worrying about how everybody can be to help each other out, I've noticed in work specifically, and I've talked to other police officers, that more people are saying, well, why do I have to listen to you? Because I have you pulled over. I have a badge on. I have authority over. Who says you have authority over me? The state, the country, the Constitution. I mean, all these different things say that I have authority over you, not to push this power trip that I'm on, but because I suspect that you've done something that you shouldn't have done, and I need to talk with you about it. And there's so much pushback anymore that we have to really talk to people and explain. So it behooves us to have knowledge of our job, of what it is that gives us authority. And that authority is derived from the people. The people say we have authority. And so that comes back to us. We say we have authority back to them because the people who are asking us this question have given us this authority. And so when we get into that part where everybody wants to try to fight back, we're kind of putting our arms up, trying to figure out why we're just trying to do this job that we've been asked to do, to hold the line, to enforce the law. But on the other side of it, people are wanting to push back because I think there's a lack of knowledge, there's a lack of understanding, there's a lack of, and that's on the adults to teach the children. And there's not a lot of that. There's a lot of narrative teaching and what people think they want to have out there, but there's not too much of that. And so, there's not too much of what reality is. And it's a struggle, and it's hard to deal with. And how we fix it, I don't know. I think just keeping everybody knowledgeable, keeping people educated as to what's going on and who everybody is, and teaching your children that just because a police walk in the room doesn't mean that anybody's going to get arrested, and we're not going to take your mommy and daddy and all this different stuff. But there's too many people who have done things they shouldn't do, and the police have come along and said, hey, well, we got to do this, not because it's a personal thing, but because it's just what their job is. So.
Right. Polite society demands that we have some sort of law enforcement mechanism. Mm-hmm. And yet somehow that has been bastardized into the police are dangerous and you don't have to listen to them. And now we've got in some areas where county prosecutors are not going to prosecute resisting arrest, even though
right.
That's a crime. And again, and I think a lot of people, like you said, are not well educated anymore into what laws we have, why we have them, and again, the police don't make the laws. I think a lot of people think, well, police are making these stupid laws. There's not a single law in the books that the police have made. We are tasked with enforcing the laws
right.
that the legislators task us with enforcing, and that has all become so discombobulated and obviously confusing for people. You're out there on the street mm-hmm. now on patrol, and I'm going to guess you see this constantly, right? Where people are looking at you. Yeah, do they say, hey, I don't have to listen to you, I don't have to do what you say?
Yeah, and then you have to force them, and everybody says, oh, well, the use of force are going up, the numbers are going up. Yeah, and the only reason we're using force is because we're trying to effect an arrest, or we're trying to enforce the law, and people want to fight back, and we have an obligation to enforce the law.
I know there's a lot of frustration out there, and again, you're in the Northwest where there's a lot of on the good side, a lot of really progressive things that have come out of the Pacific Northwest as far as policing goes, mm-hmm. Community mm-hmm. policing and excellent crowd control techniques, things like that. But then you also have the downside of that, where there are some very progressive politicians that are trying to
Yeah.
limit what law enforcement can do, frankly, to the detriment of your citizens, right?
Agreed. Yeah. And where I'm at, I'm very south of Seattle and Portland, which is, I guess, to the positive. But the other side of it, yeah, there's a lot of, and it all rolls downhill. It all,
Yeah.
it just flows downhill where if it happens to one police officer, and it could happen in, whatever, Chicago or in, Tampa, it could affect every other police officer across the country, even around the world. And so a lot of those things we are connected, and based off of how we perceive it or how we react to it, it makes a big difference in how we police.
Right. Exactly. So let's talk about the podcast.
Sure.
I got to ask you, how'd you decide on that? What's a Hero podcast? Like because what's a hero to you?
Right. And that was my question. As I said, well, if I want to do this, what am I going to do it about? And then I'm sitting downstairs at my kitchen table, and I'm going over different stuff, writing stuff down. And I said, going through, I was looking at other podcasts, their names and stuff like that. And I said, well, what do I want to talk about? I said, okay, well, how about heroes? What is a hero? And I'm thinking, well, what is a hero? And then I'm thinking, okay, how can I make that sound a little better? So I said, what's a hero? Okay. How about what's a hero? Because there's no others, but we're still going to be the What's a Hero podcast. And then, so the question is in the title, what is a hero? So then people can come in and they can listen and they find out, well, what is a hero? And each of these people who come on there, a lot of them don't even consider themselves heroes. They look at themselves as being, I'm just a person. I've had several people on there saying, I've had dispatchers on there who have said, well, I'm not a hero. Yeah, you are. You do stuff. And then I explained to them, I kind of break it down. And I had a group of, like I said, these dispatchers, and I kind of broke it down as to why they were. And they're like, wow, we really are. Huh. And so that's where I got the mindset of having it be the What's a Hero. And so people can look at it and say, well, what is a hero? Well, let's listen to this and find out what a hero is. And then you realize that it's not somebody. And I even have that in my intro is, I have the definition of a hero, but then it's not just that. It's not just somebody who is they wear a cape and they do great things and whatever. It's somebody who does something for other people, more or less serves other people with their life,
Absolutely. And I got to say, one of your favorite podcasts that you did was on peer support, and you did it with a couple of people I just adore and admire, and it's that peer support couple,
Yes.
Kathy and Javi Bustos.
Great people. Yep.
Talk about that, and then talk about the importance of peer support in for first responders, including the military, because that's what you did before law enforcement. That peer support's amazing, right? I mean, and it's necessary.
It is. And, everybody has issues. Everybody has struggles. Everybody and it doesn't have to be, got in a shooting and it was the worst day of your life. It could be, you're having a hard time because your testosterone level's low or something, whatever the case is. And you're just not feeling whatever. And if you have people that are out there and they know you have relationships with people, they can sit there and say, hey, you're acting your normal self. Are you okay? I'm fine. And then you don't even maybe realize it. And then all of a sudden, if you have people that know you, that have relationships with you, they can come in, they can come alongside. And the way I look at it is you've got a big giant ocean liner that's coming into port. It may not be able to navigate these small little detailed areas inside port. So you have a tugboat come alongside and guide them in. The peer support is that tugboat. You are the big ocean liner. That person is coming alongside just to support you, to get you to where you need to go. So you can either refuel, restock, whatever, and then you can get back out there into the world and do the job that you need to do. And so that's the way I look at peer support. And I think it's super important because we all go through those times that we have to go into port, we have to refuel, we all have to restock. We have to get back to the point where we know where we are, and then we can go in and be who we are. And it's very important that peer support is there, and it's a very beneficial thing because we're not going to get through this on our own sometimes. That's why we have life, and that's why God put us on this planet for other people and with other people.
What is your, we just have about a minute left. What is your vision of the future for the What's a Hero podcast?
I want to have it out there. I want to go and talk to people and get motivation, get inspiration from people, and have people learn something from it. People take something away, maybe send me a message saying, oh my gosh, that was so good because I was able to grab that from it. Cool. Take something, better your life with it. I'm not looking at making $1 kajillion on it. I'm looking at helping other people and supporting people and motivating people, so people want to have a solid, positive lifestyle. And they're able to do that by knowing that police are there, that law enforcement, firefighters, veterans, everybody's there to help them and support them in this, not so much to dog them down or keep them in a place where they can't, help themselves or anything, but they're there to support and help each other. And that's, and I think as law enforcement, it's our job to lead our cities, our counties, our states. It's our job to do that because we've been put in that position to do that. So that's what I'm hoping that the What's a Hero podcast can do.
So where can people find you? Where can people find the podcast?
You can find the podcast. We have our website. It's the What's a Hero podcast.buzzsprout.com. It has all of our previous episodes. It has links to your podcast, your favorite podcast platform that you can go in and you can download it from there. You can subscribe to it. Downloads help us, which is really great. You can find me also. I'm on Instagram. The What's a Hero podcast is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Fantastic. Ken, I can't thank you enough first of all, for your service and for spending time with us today. And if you would like more information about the National Police Association, visit us at nationalpolice.org.
Put the gun down! Put the gun down!
Last year, law enforcement officers were involved in hundreds of thousands of use of force incidents. A use of force incident is when an officer must use nonverbal tactics to gain control of a dangerous situation.
Put the knife on the ground.
In many cases, officers have no choice but to use force when a suspect doesn't comply with a lawful order.
Use of force is always ugly. No one likes it, especially police officers.
Together, we can help de-escalate these dangerous encounters. Help police officers by complying with their lawful orders. Don't attack, attempt to disarm, or flee from an officer.
Use of force is an officer's last option. Most incidents can be avoided by not resisting arrest.
If you feel you've been wrongfully detained by a police officer, then seek a legal solution after the encounter has been resolved.
Let's keep everyone safe. Comply now and complain later.